I'm Charlene Lloyd, and today I would like to inform you about genetically modified foods and why I believe that we need to support food labeling in the area of genetically modified ingredients. According to the World Health Organization, genetically modified organisms are organisms in which the genetic material, or DNA, has been altered in such a way that would not otherwise naturally occur. GMOs were introduced into the American food system in 1996, having been approved by the FDA without any human testing. Over 90% of all the crops in America are now GMO, and their GMO crops are contaminating our organic crops. And once this happens, they own the rights to our organic crops that are now GMO crops. And they could actually sue you because their crops contaminated yours. So who regulates GMOs? Well, the FDA does. However, they say in their statement of policy that foods derived from new plant varieties are ultimately, the food producer is ultimately the person that's responsible for assuring their safety. They go on to say that they believe that to date, all developers of bioengineered foods commercially marketed in the United States have consulted with the agency prior to marketing their food. However, they don't state that they know that they have. But Philip Angel, Monsanto's former director of corporate communications at the leading company in bioengineered foods, said that Monsanto should not have to vouch for the safety of biotech foods, and that their interest is in selling as much of it as possible, and that assuring the safety of it is the FDA's job. So why should we care about this? Well, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine says that there's more than a casual association between GM foods and adverse health effects. GM foods pose a serious health risk in the areas of toxicology, allergy and immune function, reproductive health, and metabolic, physiological, and genetic health. They go on to say that several animal studies indicate serious health risks associated with GM foods, consumption including infertility, immune dysregulation, accelerated aging, dysregulation of genes associated with cholesterol synthesis, insulin regulation, cell signaling, protein formation, as well as changes in the liver, kidney, spleen, and gastrointestinal system. Labeling for GMOs is completely voluntary, and yet not a single company has done this since the release of GMOs have been approved. If their GMOs are so healthy for us, why wouldn't they want to say, hey, we have this awesome new food and it's really healthy for you? If they could prove that, the FDA would approve them to label their food that way. However, they don't. Why do you think that is? In 64 other countries, the labeling of GMOs is required and strictly enforced. That has to make you wonder, like, why are we one of 3 countries, I think, just a handful, that don't require labeling? When the New York Times says that, according to their polls, 93% of Americans want GMOs labeled. However, Monsanto and a bunch of other companies that create GMO products spent $100 million in 4 states. That would be Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and California. Sorry. We can all help support more strict labeling laws and transparency in biotech by calling or writing our state representatives and asking them to support the labeling of GMO ingredients. You can do this by going to house.gov and clicking on representatives, and they are listed by state. You can call or write them, and there are currently 13 states that could have labeling law changes on their ballots by the end of 2016 or before. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can go to for foodsafety.org's Take Action page to find out what else you can do to help. You can also buy foods that have been verified 100% GMO free, because if they're not labeled 100% GMO free, there could be up to 5% GMO ingredients in the product, according to the FDA's National Organic Standards. Or you can buy from a farmer that's local to you who uses organic growing standards. You can even ask if you can make a visit to their farm. So, there's no clear evidence of GMOs being good or bad. It's very insufficiently tested. It made me sad and outraged that our government allowed the release of GMOs without public knowledge or labeling of any kind. And I feel that poses the question, what do all the companies have to hide? After 18 years, there are no laws that require the labeling of genetically modified food, and the biotech companies say that it's the FDA's responsibility, and the FDA say that it's the biotech's responsibility. So who's actually accountable for it, and what is the real data, since the biotech companies are paying for the person that is giving the data? Let's all take action by calling our representatives or doing something else to help further support the labeling of GMOs.